What's up? So we got CPI just a few seconds ago, and it was a beat. Crazy, huh? So here's the core inflation numbers that we got. You see, last month we got 3% on the. This is month over month. Expectations was 0.3. We got 0.2. That's a beat. Sorry if I said miss. It's a beat. And then you got 3.1 last month. Prior month, 3.1 was expected this month. It's another beat. We got 3%. Inflation month over month. Last was 0.4. 0.4 was expected. 0.3. Another beat. Then you got 2.9 last month. 3.1 was expected this month. This is going to be for the main inflation number year over year. 3% is what we got. So this number is actually a jump up. So this is a miss. It's a beat as far as expectations, but it's higher than what last month was. So there you go. You got that. But anyway, all in all, it seems to be okay. Bitcoin took that news as pretty good. You can see that Bitcoin is currently trying to hold intraday here at the weekly 21 exponential moving average. This is the price to beat this week for me. Like, as long as you're closing weekly candles under this yellow line, I have a bearish bias on Bitcoin. Now, with that being said, my main bias is up, right? It has to be, because the yearly opening range is higher. You're up on the year. So the yearly trend is bullish. Now, we did put in a 3-drive topping formation, or a Wyckoff distribution formation, and then we rolled over. So a lot of people have a bearish bias because of that, and it's understandable, right? But for me, as long as we're trading above July's low, I have a bullish bias. And July's low is all the way down here. So as long as Bitcoin, even though my rules tell me that I should be, or can be, looking for bearish trades, right? My bias is up. And the main reason for that is because Bitcoin is in a 4-month range here. It is unable to break down. Every single time the sellers back in August and in October have been able and willing to push price down, they let off the gas at July's low. Why is that? Why? Well, because they don't really think that it's that bearish, obviously. Otherwise, they would hammer it, right? They wouldn't stop there. Why stop there? You know what I mean? Why stop there? So clearly, the sellers are losing any kind of hope they may have of this thing breaking down once you get to that point. So until we're consistently closing weeklies under the 21, or until we're pushing with trending conditions below July's low, I have to remain at least, maybe not super bullish, but at least range bound. This is range bound. This is not trending. Here's your monthly chart. The monthly chart tells us everything. Now, I did a little bit of looking back in the middle of the week, and I noticed something. Bitcoin has never had a bearish engulfing candle at highs, ever. And this month, we finally do have a bearish engulfing. But here's the thing. You've got 7 days left on the close. And unless you're down in here, it's not going to be that much of an intimidating bearish engulfing candle. But looking at this in the past, I only found 4 in Bitcoin's all-time history. It's only had 4 bearish engulfing monthly candles. That's irrelevant and useless information. I just thought it was funny. I would have assumed in the many bear markets that Bitcoin has had that there would be a few monthly engulfings in there, but no, there's not really. So right now it is a bearish candle because it's trading under its open, and it is an outside range candle. It took out last month's high and it took out last month's low. So you are trading outside of last month's range, or you were at some point, but now you're not. So I mean, this is a very, very sideways asset. It is not trending to the upside. It is not trending to the downside. I think in this case, given the macro backdrop that we have, fundamentally speaking, we have to give it the respect to the bulls, right? we would have to be like, well, the sellers let off the gas at 10, what is this, 105? That's where they quit. That's where they give up. And the buyers show up there. So as long as we're in a range-bound scenario like this and we're bullish on the year and the macro fundamental backdrop is bullish for risk assets, I would say that most of us should have a bullish bias. Now, with that being said, since we did get the numbers today and Bitcoin did act a little squirrely when that news came out, I would have to go with today's price action as being kind of structured more bullish than bearish. If we go look at the daily candles for the last 3 days, you've been making higher lows and higher highs, right? Right now you're trading above yesterday's high. So that is a little bit more bullish than bearish. The monthly open is up here. This is where price rejected on Tuesday. Your monthly VWAP also comes in up there. So this would be a massive level for Bitcoin to get above. But you're testing the daily 21 exponential right here, right now. So right here, right now, that's going to be a massive level, or could be a level that is potentially resistance. I guess an objective level to watch would be Monday's high. So if you are squaring off on this with short side entries, the only way I would be bearish on it is if you're trading under this. And if you refuse to trade above that, maybe then you could set up, I don't know, a short trade. But we'll see what it does. That info was good. I mean, it's not like amazing good data, but it's not terrible bad data either. So, I mean, yeah, we sort of have that. We're going to have to wait on the non-farm payroll number that we still haven't gotten because the government shut down. We will get that number. From what I've read and seen, we will get that number in November. So the 7th of November is when we'll get October's data. So we're basically on the 7th, which isn't next week, but the week after, we're going to get 2 non-farm payroll prints. We're going to get this month's end. Yeah, it's going to be a crazy day. So that's 2 Fridays from now. November the 7th, mark your calendar, keep that on the mind, or at least that on the back of the mind. Now, as far as that's Bitcoin, that's your long-term analysis. That's near-term and long-term. There really isn't anything else to say. You know what I mean? Here on the weekly and daily time frame charts, the thing doesn't look that great. It looks like a dead cat bounce. Well, I mean, if you look at it like this, it looks absolutely phenomenal. But I mean, if you look at it like this, then it doesn't look great, right? And it looks kind of bad, actually, when you're only looking at the last 3 weeks. So, I mean, for the month of October, it's bearish. It's been bearish. It's you know, this is the 3rd week in October, and the last week was bearish. This week isn't bearish, but you're not trading above last week's open, so you are kind of bearish. You're just up on the week. That is all. You can see where the week open is, and then going back down into the daily. Yesterday was a important day for Bitcoin because it did break back above. So it didn't liquidate yesterday's high and then roll over, as one would have expected if I was bearish. If I thought this week was going to close out red, yesterday is when I would have expected the reversal. We didn't get that. Today you're higher. So near term is the near term intra-week price action is more bullish than bearish. Now, I don't want to be buying Bitcoin all the way up here because A, it's into resistance, and B, I already have a long on from last Friday when we did the public live stream. I got long that day on the live stream. I'm still holding that position. But I don't want to only be bullish here because, yeah, it doesn't look great, right? We still got to close this weekly back above this level. So where could I look for that short trade also? I would look for that in something like Bonk, Pingu, or Fartcoin, because all three of those are meme tokens. They don't really have any real use case, and they're all weak. They're all weak. So here's Bonk. The level that I'm short or looking at the short from is going to be daily res, and daily res is just simply the highest daily close that you've had in recent days, right? Because being a day trader, we're looking to scalp the daily ranges each and every day, which makes it a little bit more difficult, obviously. But yeah, that's your highest close there. So until you close a daily above this is resistance. So that is kind of where I'm going to mitigate a short trade from. But on the near term, you can see Bonk is actually structured a little bit more bullish than Bitcoin for the weekly range according to the volume average. So if you were trading under this green line here, this is your weekly volume weighted average price, then volume would be saying, hey, this thing is a little bit weaker on the near term, but we're well above that. We closed above it yesterday and we're above it today. So even with Bonk, the weekly volume is suggesting that this is bullish price action, not bearish. So really and truly, I would say you could be either bullish or bearish on this today. I would not be bearish if you are trading above 1494. That just simply means later on in the day, today, like afternoon, 1, 2 o'clock, anytime after noon, if you're trading above 1494, I wouldn't be looking to put on a short. That's what that means. Because if you're trading above daily resistance, then you're threatening a higher push. And there's no point and no objective level for us to justify opening more shorts or new shorts. So as long as we're trading at or below this level, I can have a short position open. For the longs, I think you would be better off suited on something like Pingu. Well, it's not now. Let me see. Oh, it was Fartcoin. My bad. Maybe something like Fartcoin, because you have the same scenario and the same structure, right? The market is near-term bullish. But Pingu and Bonk and Bitcoin aren't really giving a bullish entry, whereas Fartcoin could. So if you want to take the bullish positioning today, I would be looking at Fartcoin. I would be watching Fartcoin at 36.64. That's the last 4-hour candle's low. And as long as Fartcoin is trading above that, then I would be able to put risk on here for the long. All right, that's the same scenario goes for that as what I just said about Bonk. Later on today, if price is trading under 36.64, then I wouldn't be looking to buy it later. I only want to see price literally go down to this line and then bounce. That's what I want to see. That's my trade idea. I give it to you. That you take with it what you will, but that's what I want to see. So if it doesn't do that, if it breaks down, right, I'm not going to be looking to keep buying. No, we're just going to let it go down, and hopefully the bonk short will cover that. So right now, yeah, it's not great. There's not like an absolute perfect setup. There's not an A-class setup in the market. We just got good news. So yeah, I mean, fundamentally speaking, there really isn't a reason to be massively bearish on anything. And then finally, before the bell, if you look on the top left-hand chart, that is your VIX. You can see that we have broken back down under the yearly opening range. So we did have a super strong VIX last week. That has been given back, all of it. all of it. So whatever volatility expansion we did have coming into this week, we no longer have. And you're making lower highs, lower lows. I mean, that is bearish. So as long as that's going on, I would be expecting risk markets to continue higher. The bears had their chance. So even with a 30 VIX, the bears couldn't make risk assets off more than 3%. That doesn't seem like bear markets to me. It's not super bullish, but I mean, I just don't see where the bearish narrative is. I've been looking for it. I just can't find it. I know a lot of people want me to be bearish because, hey, it's funner when I'm bearish. Because when I'm bearish, the markets are usually getting destroyed. But we just don't have that. So since we're bullish, we might as well be holding longs. Now, as far as gold, let's go back up there. Gold is concerned. The reason here, let me pull up. The reason gold is so bullish today is because the dollar's getting hammered off of that inflation news. Or it was. It's pulling back a little bit here now, but so there's your hammerage on the dollar. That was the inflation news. So as long as the dollar is weak, I would be very, very cautious about holding gold shorts. Yes, gold came off really hard, and it probably is done for a while, right? But at the same time, it doesn't have to stay like that. Just because it has what looks to be a blow off top, it doesn't mean that the uptrend on gold is forever over. This thing bounced hard off the 21 exponential on a daily time frame. To me, that doesn't smell like super bearish. Super bearish would have blasted right through that with no problems whatsoever. Maybe an intraday wiggle here that lasted an hour, maybe, and then it broke down. Like, that's what I would have wanted to see if I was holding gold shorts. I'm not, but if I was, that's what I would want to see. This could get sold into again, and it may. So if you have to short gold or GLD, maybe watch yesterday's open and yesterday's high and use those for your points of risk or time to get out of the short trade if you're trading above 382.25. So if you got put on this thing or whatever, you can keep holding that put. But if you start to trade above and push higher than 382.25, I'd be a little bit concerned because you do have a massive unfilled gap up here. And sometimes gaps fill. There's your gap. So sometimes gaps fill, and that gap fill puts you all the way up at 394, which is why I'd be very, very cautious about holding put if price is pushing above 382. All right. And that's what we got going on. Hopefully everybody's having a good week. Hopefully everybody has hit their weekly objectives or their intraday targets. Hopefully you're not setting red on the portfolio. That's never a fun place to be. Let me pull up VIX futures real quick. Yeah, VIX futures look good. They're back down to 1850. So all the backwardation that we had, all of the bearishness that we had, that's gone. It's gone. Yeah, this looks good, and it's pushing on day lows. Now, obviously, when we get the bell, that could change, but if I was going to expect this to be like a pullback and then the VIX was going to be bullish, I would have wanted to see yesterday close back above 1968 or 1970, whatever this high is, 1969. No, it's 1970. I would have wanted to see it close above 1970 because we were well above 1970 Yesterday, or not yesterday, but Wednesday, we were way up. 2040 is the high of day. I would have loved to have seen a close above that. If we would have gotten that, then I could be looking for that bearish trade. But I think Wednesday is the day that got everybody. October 22nd. That was the day that pretty much told the bears, like, you're off sides. You're off sides. And that's never a good thing. Go back and look at the SPY on the daily here. You're going to see that you got a gap fill on Wednesday. That was the day right here. So this was the day, like, the bears were like, okay, so we did gap back above that trend line, but you couldn't get any upside continuation. So the bears came in and they hammered this on Wednesday. They were looking for that roll, if you will, that lower high. And they got a really big trading day range out of it. So, yeah, they were good, right? It was a good day for the bears. But ultimately, it couldn't close bearish or, weak. It did close bearish as it's a red candle, but it didn't close on the lows. It bounced right off that trend line, and here you are today, gapping way up above all-time highs. So whatever the bears had, they no longer have. So be very careful if you're still trying to force shorts on the market. But here's Bonk pushing up. Let's go intraday here. We're getting ready to get the bell. Yeah, I don't like this price action here. This looks like the bulls are buying it up. And I can make the case to be bullish today. So as far as setups go, you might not get a long entry on Fartcoin down there at 36.64. So maybe I don't like buying it there either. I can tell you that. Here, let's go look at this. Yeah, I would love to buy Fartcoin down here. I can't buy it all the way up here. I would absolutely love to be a buyer down here, though. We'll see if we get that pullback as when the bell opens. Or when the bell rings, when the market's open. But daily EMA's above Bitcoin here. Looks like it's consolidating on a 30-minute. Yeah, Bitcoin is trading well above the 30-minute 100, which is typically a good place to look to be a buyer. You can see right through here, it gave you several opportunities. Made a lower high and is pushing. Now, this price action doesn't look good to me. It looks like it wants to roll over because you're not seeing like huge bullish pushes. And then when you do get the bullish pushes, they get hammered pretty easily. It's not been an easy week of trading. Like last week was so easy. Last week was just a beautiful, perfect price action trading week. It was so easy. It just kept making the daily ranges were so easy to spot. It was just beautiful and easy. We don't have that this week. This week it's been difficult and tough, right? Last week, very simple. Wednesday was such an easy day to look for shorts. It was so easy. Monday, Tuesday. So that put the week's range going to the downside. Wednesday was an inside day. So you could have just been like simply shorting 4-hour supply or the resistance that was made intraday on Wednesday and you would have been golden. Boom, boom. So it was simple, right? Trending all week long to the downside. Then you had Saturday here, Sunday. Monday opens up bullish. Tuesday gives us a really huge move to the upside. Then all of that is sold off. Wednesday gives us a lower low. Thursday gives us a higher high. It's not trending, right? It's the very definition of chaotic, sideways, garbage, bullshit price action. Like, hate it. I hate sideways price action. You're not seeing continuation. Well, you kind of are today, right? In today's range here, you've got nothing but white 4-hour candles. That's bullish. Up close, up close, up close, up closed. Yeah, very, very bullish day. So I wouldn't doubt at all getting a pretty big move to the downside today, but it just looks bullish. My problem with it is it's not uber bullish. But yeah, it's very sideways. I mean, you're trading under Monday's high. That's why we're using Monday's high to be like that last ditch bearish opportunity. If the bears are going to keep this thing, they need to keep it under 111,720. If you're trading above that, then my hat's off to the bulls. Hats off to them. But yeah, very, very choppy. I wanted to say that we made the weekly low on Tuesday and then made a fresh weekly high and then made a new low, but we didn't. That new low didn't come until Wednesday. But still, Monday was a super... No, this is Tuesday. A very super volatile day. So even if we ignore this day, you still don't have anything. You set the weekly low on Wednesday and traded right back up to the weekly high. This would be the weekly high, right? If you delete Tuesday's data. So basically we made a weekly low and a new weekly high in 2 days. That would be more bullish than bearish, but still trading inside. Very choppy candle. So next week may be the downside continuation week for you bears out there. Maybe, right? Maybe. Today's Friday, so it's very difficult for me to see that we trade up to the October Open today, maybe tomorrow or Sunday, but I just don't see it. But if that were the case, if that did happen, I would have a bullish bias next week, not a bearish bias. But if you fail, like if today ends up closing down, if the bears do win out today, then I would probably be able to say, okay, yeah, maybe next week we do see that downside continuation move. We finally do break down below July's low and start to trend lower. When that happens, I will be absolutely be bearish. Sorry, I made a sudden move. My back is still tore up from the floor up. But yeah, not a lot going on here. Let's see what happens. Let me go back to Bonk. Bonk, I actually, here are my open positions. Oh, still holding that long on Bitcoin from Friday. And then I put the short on this morning when Bonk started to kind of reject daily res. So that's what I got going on. I need to put a stop loss on here. I don't love the position, so I'll just put that open there. Because if we're back up in there, then that means we're trading above daily res, which is here. And I no longer want to be holding a short trade. So we'll see what happens here. But yeah, the VWAPs. This is an old VWAP. Let me get it situated on the right day. There we go. But still, it looks bad. Even if I put the daily VWAP on this thing, the daily range still looks bullish. Weekly range is back to bullish. And it wasn't like they did a lot of trading here. Absolutely. You can see that this thing did break up above that VWAP and then got a nice push. But then the bears showed up, broke it back down. So there was a little bit of give and pull here. But ultimately, the bulls won. So as long as you're above this green line, you got to give the hats off to the bulls and be more respectful that breakout could happen. This trend line, I don't really care about trend lines, but here it is. If you're wondering how I got it or where it's from, I just kind of threw it up there. I'm sure you could make it look better. Yeah, that looks a little better. I don't know that you could make it perfect. Well, there we go. That's perfect. That encapsulates all the 4-hour wicks. So that's the trend line to beat for a breakout to the upside. Yeah. Can you short here? I wouldn't myself, but I guess if you fail to close higher 5-minute candles than this last close, you could, right? In theory. But the deltas here on the cumulative volume delta is bullish, and that's going to be the case for all. Here's cumulative volume delta for Pingu, bullish. Cumulative volume delta for Fartcoin, bullish. Cumulative volume delta for Ethereum, bullish. And same goes for Bitcoin. Deltas are bullish. So at least volume is saying maybe the bulls have it. On Bitcoin, the deltas aren't like super bullish though. They're above the zero. That's all you got. They're not. It's not trend. Well, it kind of is, isn't it? Yeah, it kind of is trending to the upside. Point of control on Bitcoin is here. Same case for me. Like if I wanted to buy Bitcoin today, I would want to buy it down here. Like the Fartcoin setup. That's just how I operate. Because for me, I think the best buy would be down here. That's right there. Day low is at 110.025. So this wouldn't be a fresh daily low. It would just be a higher low on the daily range. Now, I wouldn't buy Bitcoin if it pushes under and closes under it. So let me get my little candlestick maker. If you get something like this, then I would be hard pressed to be a buyer. What I would want to see is I would want to see something like this. Right? So if we push under it and reject, I can put my long on and then get my stop down here. Obviously, you're not going to sit and wait for 30 minutes to wait on that candle close. So if you're watching your 1 minute chart or whatever time frame you watch, basically you just want to see price get down here and then stop going down. You want to see that V-shaped recovery or whatever at this point. Then you could be a buyer there and then just put your stop underneath the wick low, wherever that may be. But if your 1 minute chart is pushing beyond 110.6, then I wouldn't be buying it. because then I would be arguing that you can make the argument that the bears have got control of price. Now since the VWAP is right here, you may not get an entry down there. Yeah, and that's right where it's supposed to be too. VIX futures is pushing lower. You got a fresh daily low. You're currently pushing on fresh day lows on VIX futures. That's important because it says that the vol sellers are winning today. When vol sellers are winning, typically price is bullish on risk assets. I myself won't take longs on volume weighted average price levels unless I'm trading the ES futures. Then I do buy the VWAP. But with Bitcoin and crypto, I have better luck and better success when I focus my entries around objective price levels. Like 4-hour swing lows or 4-hour swing highs. Things like that. I think there's too much tomfoolery that goes on around the VWAP. But the weekly 21 is a big, big level, and people are going to be focused on that and paying attention to it because people do like to buy that. I'm sure algos will fire buy orders out there as long as prices is whacking at this level. And you can look at the weekly chart and you can see basically if we put the 21 on, like they've been buying it up. Here, I'll get rid of the blue line. Just focus on the yellow. That's your weekly 21. Like all year. And since 2023, they've been buying it up. I mean, sure, you get periods of time where you do spend a little bit of time under it, but once that reclamation happens, it's off to the races. And then the same goes for the RSI. Like we're literally down here at what is arguably, or has been since 2023, a buying opportunity. So if we go all the way back to 2023, you can see here you reclaimed the 50. Once you reclaimed the 50 on the weekly, there was only a few times where price was able to trade under it, right? And ultimately that ended up being a long-term buying up. So here we are again, right? Are we going to ultimately end up like that again? That's a good question. I wish I had the answer. But yeah, last week was a close under. For me, this week was extremely important. If Bitcoin can't close back above it, I'm going to be bearish next week. Or I will be looking for short side setups. But ultimately, my long-term bias is still up. And it will be for a while. Because of that yearly open and that July low. That July low way down here. 105, 119. So there's a lot of trading to take place before we get back down to that level. All right, so since we're getting that downside push on Bitcoin right now, let's take a look at Farcoin and see if it's pushed to our level yet. Not yet. And Bonk, I'm not looking to be a buyer on Bonk, but if you are, there's the week open right there. Yesterday, they tried to sell it there. They failed. Today, it's kind of accumulating. This would be that last previous 4-hour swing low. So That's how that works. We still got 2 hours and 18 minutes on this 4-hour candle, so a lot can happen. Now, to be fair for Bonk, that would be a pretty deep push, and I don't know that I would like it to the upside anymore if it were to get down there. It's not that far of a push for Fartcoin, and Bitcoin is almost there, so not far at all. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Miss you. Yeah, miss you in CTM. Yeah, I miss you guys too. I actually popped in on one of your live streams not too long ago. Still good stuff going on over there. You got pants on? No, absolutely not. Good morning, Paper Wiggleman. What's up, Janet's Thoughts? Good morning. Pants are off. Of course they are. All-time high on ES and NQ. YM not yet, but it looks like it's coming. Yeah, I agree, Wes. Neither Bitcoin or S&P have ever topped and entered a bear market while the fear and greed are showing fear. Something to keep in mind. Asked an AI to confirm. You are correct. I've been trading for many years. I can't ever remember a bear market starting from a fear on the fear and greed model or indicator. I always remember a bear market starting from massively greed. That's generally where bear markets start. Once you get in beyond greed, you start pinging off of that 97, 98. That's generally when you want to start taking profits and getting situated for, yeah, I agree with you. This is crazy. Very crazy stuff. I was going to post that on Twitter the other day, but I asked Grok about it, and he said that it happened already once this year. I don't remember that, but I think maybe he might be hallucinating. But we can ask him real quick while we're waiting for Bitcoin to get down here to our level to see if it bounces or not. That's what we're waiting on. As far as stocks, I'm not looking to buy any stock because it's Friday. Ooh, I never want to go into the weekend holding an options position unless I've been in the option position for a long time. I never like opening fresh positions on Friday. It's the end of the week. You know what I mean? You want to put your weekly trades on beginning of the week, not the end of the week. All right, so Bitcoin's pushing down here. Let's see, down here, to me, this is where everything's going to matter. So if I was you and I was looking to be a bull on Bitcoin, I'd be getting ready to fire off that bullish entry here. Here. I'll do it with you. I'll take a small entry. Long Bitcoin here if it holds. We can go lower. We can go down into 15 seconds. Make sure you set stops accordingly. You did get it there, so I would want to see a V-shaped recovery here. There's no point for it to keep digging below the level. The liquidation has already happened. Just make sure you got a stop out with an amount of money you can afford to lose just in case you get one of these bitches. You know what I mean? You don't want to take the loss all the way down there. You want to take it here. Less money. That's all you need to do as a trader. Control how much money you're losing when you're wrong. And as long as you keep that at a minimalistic amount of money, you're going to be just fine long term. So there's our bullish entry, but we don't want to buy it if it's pushing under it, because then the bears have got it. This is an accumulation around the level. I don't typically love that. I want to see it start to trade back away. The bulls have it. So if they have it, they don't. This is good, right? So you've already liquidated. You've liquidated everybody since midnight. So that means you've liquidated the London session longs. So if it's going to be bullish today, it should start to trade away from this level. All right, let me read some more of these comments. We'll go ask Grok and we'll get that. I'll do it here in a minute. What's up, Kingdom Raven? Happy to be here. Happy to have you, my friend. What's up, Soft Bag? Why they locking up my boy Chauncey? I don't know. Free Chauncey. I don't even know who Chauncey is. I have no idea what's going on there. Tesla, please, says Buster. Yeah, we'll take a look at Tesla here in a little bit, Buster. I want to see what happens with Bitcoin right here. So it looks like it wants to push deeper. So at that point, you should be getting a stop, or at least taking a stop, because you don't want to be long if it's pushing beyond this level down, right? Because it can keep going and your losses can get much bigger. We're not trying to low or bottom tick this thing. We want to see who has the ball. If the Bears have the ball, we don't want to we want to let them go and score, right? So we can get the ball back. There's no point in buying right here, right now. It's here. That's where we want to buy. All right. Put the price on. If it comes back, I'll get filled. I got filled. Stop loss right here. 110, 395, and I'll lose all of 15 bucks. Well, $14.74 is what I'll lose if it pushes back under that low. So up here is where we are. So that's how it works. Pushes back under, I'll get stopped out and I'll lose $14. And then I can try again at the same price later. And then if I get stopped out again, I'm done with it. I'll wait until some other day. Because what I want to happen isn't happening. You know what I mean? And I can't predict what the market's going to do ever. So there's no point in me losing a bunch of money to try to determine who's going to win or lose. Hang on one second. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Ugh. Yeah, getting old sucks, man. I pulled my back out a week ago and it's still destroyed. I can't hardly walk or move. It's terrible. All right. I am long for Wednesday in Asia, says Wes. Wednesday in Asia. On Bitcoin? So Asia, that would be here. The West is long from around 107.7. Nice. Nice work, Wes. So the weekly VWAP still firmly below price, which is what we want to see if the week range is going to stay bullish. We're not too concerned with the daily VWAP because we, like I said, we do see tomfoolery around the daily VWAP quite often. So it's normal. We do like this look as it is a higher high on the 5-minute. But still a huge level here being the weekly 21 for bears. So I'm sure your bears are going to look for bearish entries around here. We can see if we're getting any volume build up there, but it's not really going to be helpful because the point of control is already established up here. Actually, right here is a small volume node. And small volume nodes are sometimes looked at as potential support zones. They don't always work, obviously. Nothing works in trading 100% of the time, but you do see how you did get wicks into this area. Wick. It's not a wick, but it would be like on a 15-minute or a 30-minute chart. It's just a wick. Well, not the 15-minute. 30-minute is just a wick for now. I don't really care about that. We already have our trade idea situated and mitigated. As long as price is trading above 110,629, we can hold a long. If price is no longer trading above that point, we do not want to hold long. On the day trade. If you have any swing trades that are much lower, you're fine, right? This doesn't even really concern, like, today's price action, not really that bad in terms of swing trades. It's the day range. Right here's the day open. So yeah, as long as you're trading above that, you're up on the day. And that's your day low right there. Boom, boom. Yeah, the bears, they're going to look at this as a rejection, and this is a dead cat bounce. They're going to be putting on short positions here, which is good because we need shorts to be putting on positions here. So that way, if price starts to go up, it starts to liquidate those positions, bringing in more demand, helping propel price higher like a slingshot. But we'll see, right? We'll see. Bonk kind of doing the same thing, bouncing from the week open. Pingu never did get that low, and then did Fartcoin? Yes, look at Fartcoin. It did the exact same thing. Went down, liquidated that 4-hour swing low, right on cue. And then here's the day open on Fartcoin. And then your day low. So that's your daily range right there on Fartcoin. Very choppy. Only like an hour of upside trending. And then the rest of the time, this thing has been chopping sideways. This is why I want to tell people, like, if you're looking at small time frame charts, just don't really, because I can see all of this data with just this many candles. You know what I mean? It's just easier. This looks like a big nasty bearish engulfing, right? So, hell yeah, I want to short this. There's 2 hours of time left on this. This candle could turn into a big nasty bullish engulfing and close way up here at 38.50. And then that scenario, you'd be like, damn, I wish I would have bought it instead of sell it. So don't get caught up in the minutia of what this thing looks like just yet. It only matters what it looks like at and around the close. But I get it. Most people are going to be looking at the 5-minute or the 1-minute. That's what most people watch. Gotta scrunch it up to fit the whole day worth of 1-minute candles in this chart. Yeah, very choppy price action today. So on Bitcoin, we got another 5-minute higher close, which is good. I mean, it's not good. It's just better than not, right? It's better than making lower lows and lower closes. They're gonna be shorting this. SPY, big gap up, made a fresh day high. Then kind of stalled out. Be nice if the SPY could continue to push. There's a new lower low on the 5-minute. Not great. Not terrible. I mean, it's good news, so it could be a down day, right? Most people are going to expect price to go up on good news, But we've seen it happen so often. That's not usually the case. Like, there's just because you know what the news was doesn't mean the market's going to respond that way. We have the news and then the market's reaction to the news. It's virtually impossible to predict what's going to happen regardless of the news. Let me see what the VXX is looking okay. VIX still looking okay under the yearly open. There is a gap down, or a gap that is lower on the VIX that is unfilled. It starts at 1573. And then 1859 would be the day resistance on the VIX. So even if the VIX does go up today and Bitcoin sells off all day, as long as the VIX closes under 1862 at the end of the day, I would still be looking to be a buyer on Bitcoin going into next week, looking for this gap to get filled. So it makes sense that it trades right down to the gap and then starts to reverse because so many people are looking for the gap fill. And then once again, GLD here trading under, but not really giving sellers what they want to see either. At least the day's range is heading in the right direction. I would love to see GLD and gold sell off a little bit more, as I think we could see buyers come into Bitcoin. But maybe that's not today. This doesn't look good. I don't like this. Oh, and the cash market on the S&P, it's trading right up against the high expected. Like, this is the weekly expected move. That's the high. Down here was the weekly expected low. Yeah, Bitcoin just pushed into a lower low. Not a lower low on the 5 here. It just took out that. So it's going to stop us, or stop me. Yeah, sellers think they have this in the bag, though. Stay low down here. See, by only losing $14 on the trade, it gives me another opportunity to try it one more time, and that would just be a $30 loss. Not bad, because if I ended up being right on the day and it were to expand nicely, it would make $300-400. So the risk to reward is just so much better. And I don't have to predict what this thing does. You know what I mean? That's what's so beautiful about it. I don't care what it does. Any idea for Solana? Yeah, we'll look at Solana. I'll look at Tesla. We'll look at a few things. Bitcoin is kind of right now doing something big here. It's really close to the low of day, so it might want to go down and tag and make a fresh day low. Who knows? Like I said, S&P's up at the weekly expected range high on a Friday. It doesn't look like, I mean, if I were long the S&P 500, I'd be taking profits right now. So we could see a little bit of sell side today is what I'm trying to say. You were trying to buy Solana on the year open, if I got the chance to, of course. Oh, I got you. Yeah. It did retest the year open, and then it broke out back above it. So it is definitely chopping in that area. We can go get it ready. I mean, it's literally right there. So it does look like you will potentially, if Bitcoin is bearish all day, then I would expect Solana to get back down to the year open. Okay, so there's the liquidation, there's the stop. So there's $14 gone. That's okay. We're still alive. We didn't lose our portfolio. All is good. Trying to sniff out that low of day, but the VIX futures is going down, so they might not get it. VIX futures putting in a nice little move back to the downside here. VIX and Bitcoin are not correlated or inversely correlated. I just know I don't want to be looking for Bitcoin longs if the VIX is ripping to the upside. You know what I mean? Because if volatility is expanding, then that usually means Bitcoin's probably going to go down. It's not a guarantee, but it's a safe bet. You know what I'm saying? Man9301 says, last cycle you called the top while everyone else was bullish. Can we be at the same spot? What should you see to call it this time? Okay, so that was because of the Fed and the 4-year cycle model. So we had perfectly aligning conditions where inflation was skyrocketing, right? New policies that were being put into place, whether it was Biden or Trump, doesn't matter. Those policies were helping inflation continue higher. So since we lost $14 on this, we can take another shot at it here. If it gets back above this level. Because if we're right on direction and Bitcoin's going to make a fresh day high, we're going to make way more than what we lost. So I will fire off one more buy on Bitcoin on limit at 110,568. And I'll put the same stop on. But price has to get above this. I can't do it while it's below it. Because as long as it's below it, it's threatening to make a new day low. Now, would I be a buyer at the new day low? If I'm going to buy it here, why wouldn't I be a buyer down here? Well, the reason is because at that point, you're trending lower on the day. Then that literally means the day's trend is down. So I still couldn't be a buyer, not down here. I still need to use this level as my stop and risk, like, because as long as it's below this, it can continue to expand down. And then I'm fighting a losing battle, right? Then I find myself in a scenario where I'm trying to buy each and every brand new day low, and that's not a place I want to be. If Bitcoin's going to go up today, if it's going to be an up day, which is what we need, right? If we're looking for longs, we need it to trend higher. Well, then it should not be trading under here. That's why I kind of use these levels to be like my line in the sand. I know what I want to see from Bitcoin. What I want to see is the bulls pushing this thing up, not bears pushing it down. That's the opposite. I would want to be short for that trade. And not on Bitcoin, not down here. That's why I shorted Bonk up here. Because if Bitcoin bears win, then Bonk should follow Bitcoin. It's kind of an offsetting position. It's like I'm just mitigating. Basically what I'm mitigating is I don't need to be right on direction this way. So I can hold the short on Bonk as long as it's trading under my level. And I know I don't want to be a buyer on Bitcoin as long as it's trading under my level. But if Bitcoin gets it back above this, I can take one more shot at it. And if I'm right on Bitcoin, ultimately the Bonk trade will get stopped out. And then hopefully a trend ensues and then we catch it. So I know people say hope isn't a strategy, and I understand what they mean by that. Obviously, you need to have a strategy and you need to put the strategy to work regardless what market conditions are going on. If your strategy is in alignment with market conditions. So when they say hope isn't a strategy, they mean you shouldn't be holding a position that's going against you and hope it turns around, right? Okay, so we're back up. I'm going to fire off the long. Stops going in the exact same place. And then if I eat another one, I'm done. That's it. 2, and I'm done. And then I no longer care what Bitcoin does today. And in all, I lost a little over $30. I live to fight another day. But hope literally is what everybody does. When you fire a position off in the open market, you can't predict what price is going to do. So you are, in a sense, hoping that it goes in your direction. But yeah, to get back to what you were saying, man, 9301, yeah, the market conditions were lined up perfectly where we had skyrocketing inflation and the policies from the administration were going to further cause more inflation. And then the Fed came out and started putting rumors out that they were going to hike interest rates. Hiking interest rates is not really good. It's a restrictive monetary condition. So we had the halving, the 4-year cycle model says that Bitcoin has a nice bullish expansion up to 2 years after the halving and then starts its bearish phase. So that's what we were looking for. So come November, we were looking for Bitcoin's 4-year market cycle to kick in. But it was the Fed that said, okay, yeah, we got a short because they're going to start hiking interest rates to get inflation under control. And that is a restrictive monetary policy that, in theory, should cause Bitcoin to sell off. And it did. This cycle The one thing that's going against the 4-year market cycle model are all of the ETFs. Now, random people can buy Bitcoin every single day the market's open, regardless of what's going on inside of the Bitcoin, macro, like inside of what makes Bitcoin work and all that, right? You have people that have the ability to put Bitcoin into their 401k savings. So people that have a job, every single week, they are living paycheck to paycheck in most cases. But one thing they're also doing every payday is paying money into their retirement. A portion of their checks go straight to whoever is in control of their 401k. So that's why markets usually trend up, because every Friday or every week, algos are putting that new money that those employees are sending to money managers. Those money managers are then sending that money into their trading plans or whatnot. So now that Bitcoin has these ETFs, people have the ability to put Bitcoin in their 401k. And there goes our stop again. So that's it. I'm done with Bitcoin. I'm done trying to trade it today. And I lost $30. It looks like it wants to make a fresh day low. The day low is right here. So at this point, I really don't care what Bitcoin does. But anyway, so the 4-year market cycle model might not work based on those ETFs. So before 2025, we didn't have any ETFs. It was, if you wanted exposure to Bitcoin, you had to buy spot Bitcoin on an exchange. Now people can get exposure to Bitcoin through their broker, through their money managers, through their 401k plans. So if they're going to buy Bitcoin and they want to allocate, say, 5% of their 401k to Bitcoin, every single week you're going to see people buying Bitcoin because they get paid every week. So that's number one, why I'm not calling a bear market here. Number two is monetary policy from the Fed. We're in an easing monetary condition. The Fed is cutting interest rates. We do not have high inflation. Inflation is above their 2% goal or their target of 2%, but inflation is not trending higher, and we're not seeing, a president putting on monetary or things that can cause that inflation to further skyrocket. So we don't have a bearish macro point of view here. The only thing that you have is a technical signal on Bitcoin. You do have a 3-drive topping formation. That is a Wyckoff distribution, if you want to look at it as such. It is that. That's what a Wyckoff distribution model is. It's a 3-drive topping formation. And that is, in effect, at the top right now. So that's enough, and that's really all you got. Like, it is enough. Technical analysis does sometimes work like that, right? It becomes like it just ends up working because people are taking shorts because of that technical signal. So it is possible that we have put a top on Bitcoin. And this year is when people, if you were taking a short on Bitcoin based on the 4-year cycle model, then yeah, November and December is typically when there you go, you got a new day low on Bitcoin. That is typically when you do want to be looking for shorts for that model. My only concern is that model may never work again because of the ETFs. I'm not saying it will not ever work again, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, when I called the top back in 2022, there were macro reasons why, the Fed and the 4-year market cycle theory. That's why. We don't have that now. We don't have either. I mean, we have one of the two. And in my experience, since the '08 financial collapse, the Fed has pretty much been in control of the markets. Like, pretty much. The Fed has literally been propping the markets up. Before the financial collapse, the Fed would not tell us or tell traders what they were going to do ahead of time. You had to wait for the FOMC meetings. Traders would make bets based on the size of the briefcase the guy had. You know what I mean? Like, because no one knew. The Fed did not tell us. Now, the Fed tells us what they're going to do in advance. So that's the Fed put. And it's since the TARP policies were basically put into place, the Fed has been doing that. And they still are. And right now, we know we're in an easing condition and inflationary, like, pressures aren't there. You can say tariffs might cause inflation, and you're right, it might, but it might not also. And the Fed, they're still in an easing cycle, so they're not, like, inflation will get jacked up way before the Fed stops cutting. Does that make sense? Like, we will see that in the chart way beforehand. That's why I'm not signaling a top here. I have to use the chart. I have to use price and the macro to basically tell me what I think is happening. What I think is happening here is Bitcoin is just trading in a 4-month range. And until we have a clearer signal, this thing could still go up and make fresh highs. So the macro is still situated for a bull market. I hope that makes sense. Like, the 4-year market cycle theory alone is not enough for me to say, oh yeah, okay, this is the top for Bitcoin. It's enough to say the top on Bitcoin may be in. It may be in because of the 4-year market cycle theory and because you have a 3-drive topping formation there. So that's enough to say, okay, yeah, it might be in. So what I'm telling my community is you can go ahead and start being bearish on Bitcoin. If you want to sell futures to protect your spot holdings, there's nothing wrong with that. That is a legit strategy. That's why futures exist. That is the purpose of put options and futures, for big people to hedge off downside exposure. As long as you're closing weekly candles below this price, it's actually this price, but as long as you're closing below this line, weekly candles, you can have short positions open. Absolutely. You do have a topping signal for a technical signal, and this is usually when 4-year cycle model people start shorting. So there could be a top in, but if the Fed was getting ready to start hiking interest rates, I would be bearish. I would already have been bearish. I would have been bearish up here. I would have shorted as soon as price dropped below that second high. We would have been short or looking for shorts all 3 of these days. We might have gotten stopped out on this day. We even might have eaten a stop on this day, but we would have been right on that day, and we would have made all that money right back on that day. And that's not me cherry picking or, you know what I'm saying? That's the way we trade. That's how we do it. Like, that's what we do here. That's what we were just doing with Bitcoin, but on a much smaller scale, right? That's why we were watching this low. Because if Bitcoin was going to remain bullish for the day, then it wouldn't continue trading below that point. Well, now it's made a fresh day low. Now you've got a nasty looking 4-hour candle there. And now everything has changed. Everything is different. But there goes bonk. So I lost $30 on Bitcoin, but my bonk trade is up $214. Oh, that's not big. That's sorry, down here. Oh, 240 on the bonk short. Now I'm losing money on the long-term long on Bitcoin, right? This long that we took last Friday. That money, obviously, I haven't realized that. So that doesn't count. That doesn't count. I don't count unrealized gains. This really doesn't count either. It's not until you take money, when you pay yourself. That's what counts. Realized gains. So yeah, today was kind of a nothing burger. I could close the bonk short out here and say today was a victory, right? I took a short on bonk and 2 longs on Bitcoin. Both longs on Bitcoin got stopped out. So those were realized losses. I realized a loss of about $45. So if I close this trade out right now, I have realized a $150 gain on the day, which isn't my daily goal. My daily goal is $300. That's what I'm generally looking to make when I put risk on. About $300. So I'm not going to do anything with the bonk trade just yet. This thing's still got all day. Still got all day. If Bitcoin's going to be a big red day today, which I don't think it will, but if it is, well, then I want to leave that bonk short open. I will mitigate those wins though. Like if bonk starts to, if I start losing those unrealized gains after the live stream, because we're going to end the live stream in an hour or whatever, but you know, I won't allow this to go to zero and then turn into a loss at all. I will close it out. I will flash close this position to make sure that I cover those 2 losses I just took on Bitcoin. So that way I go out today with a neutral day, like not a winning day, but not a losing day either. Because ultimately, being a day trader is a lot difficult than being a swing trader. So even though today looks like this right now, this may end up still, you still got an hour and 30 minutes. If this thing closes up here, it's going to be still a bullish engulfing candle. We still can't predict what Bitcoin will do today. But it's a lot easier for me to say, well, I can hold this long open on Bitcoin. As long as Bitcoin is trading above this point, I'm good. I'll hold that long. Because it may take, 3 or 4 more weeks for Bitcoin to start breaking back out to the upside. And then Bitcoin might not. Bitcoin might roll over and start trending down. We're right here, right now, at a very, very important level for Bitcoin. It definitely needs to close the week back above this average, or a lot more people are going to get bearish on Bitcoin. I'm not the only trader out there that mitigates positions via the weekly 21. There are a lot of us. We have a bullish bias on Bitcoin even now, even though last week closed below it. because we know this week could close right back above it. We know that. So it won't be until this week closes and where it closes that will basically determine what people start looking for in the future. 2 weeks under the 21, a lot of people are going to get a lot more bearish. But like I said, you will always have those buyers now, those ETF buyers every week, because of people putting Bitcoin in their 401ks, and they're still working and still adding to, they're still making a weekly contribution to their 401k. And that, in a sense, is why the 4-year market cycle theory may not be relevant any longer. But it was very much relevant back here. Very, very much. That's why we were bearish in through here as well. I mean, we made a very good call on Bitcoin back then. But that's back then. I can't keep reliving the past over and over again. Yeah, it was glorious. I made a lot of money. That's where I accumulated most of my Bitcoin. Don't know you, therefore let my voicemail take it. But now here we are, right? We got to continue to make calls. I just don't think the macro backdrop supports a bear market. I'm sorry. I wish it did, because I made so much money back here. I would love to just set in one short position for a year. I would love that. It'd be fantastic. And just watch the account grow. It'd be great. Unfortunately, we don't have the macro backdrop to support that. So I have to continue to make my trading decisions based on what price is doing. But for right now, it doesn't look good. Okay? Bitcoin doesn't look great. Doesn't look good at all. I would much rather seen something like this play out. And then this, and that, right? But now you have something different going on. So this 4-month range is getting a little bit long in the tooth. If the bulls are going to push Bitcoin higher, they really need to get to work, in my opinion. The longer Bitcoin looks weak like this, the more threatening it becomes to traders and investors. Q4 should be a very bullish quarter. It should be. It usually is, historically speaking. But right now, it still looks like this. That's a bearish engulfing quarter. That doesn't look great. Damn it, I thought that was going to be a bearish engulfing quarter. It wasn't. Neither is that. There, nope. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Yes, here. This is the Coinbase data feed. So on the Coinbase data feed that goes back to October 2014, you've only got one bearish engulfing quarter. Only one. This one is almost, but it's not quite. It didn't get the high. The high is 10.540. 10.522. That's lower. So you only have two bearish engulfing quarter candles in Bitcoin's entire history. This one is at a potential top. It's at the top. This one happened at the bottom. This one was not as significant as this one. So yeah, it doesn't look good for Bitcoin. Let's go to Bitstamp. They've got more data. So there's that bearish engulfing, and that's the only, this is a bearish engulfing. So Bitstamp has 2 bearish engulfings, but both of those came after the down move. This one is happening at the top. Much different circumstance here. So you can see why July's low is so important, right? It's not just some random YouTube dude, crypto bro on YouTube, telling you that it's important because of reasons. It's super important because of trading and trend analysis. If you're trading under July's low, you have a downtrend in place. That's what's saving Bitcoin. That has been what has been saving Bitcoin, really. The fact that you do not yet. We did, at the beginning of the year, we had bearish conditions. But as soon as Trump walked back the tariff news, those bearish conditions disappeared. Because the macro, the Fed, doesn't support a bearish market. So I'm doing my best to keep people on the right side of the market. And I use the tools at my discretion to do so. And right now, just from trend analysis standpoint, Bitcoin's in a 4-month range. It's not trending. It's in a 4-month consolidation period. It's sideways. It's in price discovery. But below this, you're trending and you're trending down. That could cause problems for Bitcoin because macro analysts are going to see that. They're going to see that and they're going to be like, well, the run was good while it lasted, but it's probably over now. So I'm going to go ahead and take profits and wait for the lows to be put in before I reinvest. And that could cause further downside pressure. So right now, Bitcoin is just still in accumulation. But you do have a 3-drive topping formation. So it's okay to be putting on bearish positions right now. I don't have a problem with it. And I'm not about to say the bears are wrong. They've been right all month. Not the beginning of the month. But here, let's get rid of everything that ain't something important. Clean this chart up a little bit here. So yeah, I mean, right here, this doesn't look great. But the bears, you know, next week will be super important. I think people are pretty much, I think most of like retail and stuff like that, whoever is still trading Bitcoin, they're doing it because they want to learn how to trade Bitcoin. They want to become a trader. I think most of like all the people that were just jumping on the Bitcoin bandwagon when Bitcoin was bullish, most of those people have lost their money and they are gone. They ain't coming back. And there is a lot of money to make in trading, but it has nothing to do with the ability to be able to rightly predict what price is going to do. It's got everything to do with risk management. If you're a good risk manager, you're going to make a great living in this. If you're not trying to get rich with every single position you put on, you're going to make money. Because it does move quite a bit. And that's all you need is an asset to move. If it moves, you can make money. You can make money. You can make consistent returns just simply by throwing a dart and seeing if it sticks. Lose little when you're wrong, Win big when you're right. You're successful. Quit trying to be right. Quit trying to predict what it's going to do. Because that's the one thing you will never be able to do. It is simple. Yeah, so let's go look at Tesla. Well, first let's go look at Sol. Solana, will you get a retest of the yearly opening range? You will. Here's my problem with buying Solana at the yearly opening range right here, right now. Solana doesn't look good either. And I don't mean that, like, most crypto assets are going to do what Bitcoin does, right? We know that Bitcoin is the leader in this space. Bitcoin is the ocean, and the ocean has tides. So generally speaking, when Bitcoin goes up, some other cryptos go up. When Bitcoin goes down, cryptos go down, right? That's a reality. The reason I don't love Solana at the yearly opening range right now is because it's currently trading under September's low. So you currently have trending conditions here on Solana, right? Because last month you've been trending higher. Boom, boom, boom. This is the first month that it's doing something different. So Solana needs to show right here, right now. Solana needs to find support. The year open is it. If it can't hold that, then Solana's probably going to get hammered. This isn't a good look. This looks good, but all of this after doesn't. Right? So anybody that was shorting Solana based on this, which I was one of them, I got stopped out. I was shorting Solana at the yearly opening range because I expected downside break. Not expected it, was positioning for it. So obviously I was wrong, but it's still not, like, this still isn't trending up and away from that level. So it's not proving that it's strong here. It's just proving that it wasn't weak the other day. That's it. Like, So technically speaking, if you're closing 4-hour candles above September's low, you could put on a bullish position. But make sure you have a stop loss in place so that if it does break back under the year open, you don't lose a lot of money. Okay? I would have already wanted to see this thing start going, but it may do that today. Bitcoin isn't done yet. It just made a fresh daily low. It's not trending yet. You got the weekly VWAP down here. This could absolutely act as support. I'm just not going to do anything with Bitcoin anymore today. But I'm not, it's not breaking down. It doesn't look terrible. When you put that into context along with this, your VX futures, they look weak too. Like, if I see a big spike up on VX futures, then I would anticipate Bitcoin to roll over and continue to put in fresh day lows. But if VIX futures is struggling and making fresh day lows, then it's probably only a matter of time before Bitcoin does ultimately find support. The next level to watch is the week open for longs. So if the bulls can't defend this area here, this will be the last area of defense for this week's range. So, I mean, you could technically be a buyer here. Throw your stop under the low of day. You're probably going to get stopped out, but I'm just saying, this doesn't look terrible to me. my positioning just didn't work out. What I wanted to happen didn't work. That doesn't mean Bitcoin is done for the day and it will continue to go lower. I have no idea what this thing will do. I wish I did. But if Bitcoin does continue to go lower, I would expect Solana to break down. Solana is bearish. If we go look at the ETF flows, yesterday on Bitcoin, we saw very, very minuscule inflows, like tiny, like not even enough to even matter. But the majority of the week has been kind of hit or miss, right? It hasn't been like, we had a really good buying day on Tuesday, obviously. You know, that Trump spike caused a lot of people to push inflows up. But every day since, we've done literally nothing. Like, yesterday was a big selling day, or the day before yesterday, Wednesday, you had more outflows than inflows. So the way to look at this indicator, for me, it's like a delta, right? If it's red, then the delta was bearish for that day. The volume was bearish. If it's positive, that's a bullish delta. Yesterday, you really didn't have a really big bullish delta. And these numbers are much smaller on Ethereum and then Solana. But if we just look at this week, which started on October the 20th, right? That was Monday. The majority of the week has been outflows, except for Tuesday. Tuesday was really bullish, but then the rest, outflow. And then there's a consistent 2 days where the outflows were more consistently going up. So it makes sense to me that Ethereum is struggling to go up today. Yeah, I mean, unless at the end of the day you get like a really big number to the bullish delta, I can understand why Ethereum is struggling. All week it's been struggling. It's an inside week, man. It's range bound. This is the exact definition of a choppy market. And position traders, or let me say delta positioned traders, are struggling to make money this week. You need a direction. You need a trending direction to make money when you are a directionally biased trader. So it's been a little bit difficult of a week. Next week, we might see further downside break. So next week, if we close under the 21 again this week, next week, I'm going to be bearish. I'm going to be looking for shorts, more than likely. Or hopefully the bonk position stays trending lower, and I don't need to look for fresh positions. This one is still a bit extended away from the mean, though. I don't love putting on new bearish positions this far away from the daily 21 exponential. I need to move it, obviously, but it's still pretty extended. The week is good. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty extended for downside positioning. But on the near term, it's not extended at all. On the near term, it looks like you could be taking shorts. Yeah, it just depends on the time frame. All right, let's go look at Tesla. Yeah, USD Swissy struggling to break down here. It did get a nice push based on that, but what's gold doing right now? Gold we might be able, well, damn it. I don't really want to put on a fresh gold trade. Here, let me see if I can. This doesn't look good. This would be a short. This would be a short side entry. Right here, right now on USD Swissy. Give me 1 second here. We'd throw a short on it. Put it on the paper trading. Let me get it off my exchange. All right. Now that I got this set up like that, we can take a short on this. Stop loss. Yeah, let's call it that. And just go 1%. Damn, that's how far 25 pips is away. I have my bias on the dollar is bearish based on the macro, but the dollar just isn't breaking down. The dollar actually looks like it's trying to go up. And that's my problem with it. This looks bullish to me, not bearish, on the near term. Long term, it looks bearish. It's just very, very choppy, right? You're in a 6-month range here. So you're not doing anything as far as trending goes. And the macro supports lower dollar if you think rate cuts is typically bearish. It is, right? Typically rate cuts are bearish for the dollar. So I have more of a macro bearish dollar bias. But when the dollar failed to break down here with downside continuation, because this is a range breakdown. Once we pushed under this low, we broke down out of the range. But that happened on one day. Right here. That was the FOMC meeting. So we broke below the range. We should have seen a downside trend take place there. We're going to get rate cuts. That's bearish. What did the dollar do? Boom, boom, boom. So the dollar's been making higher lows here on a weekly basis. Every week since that FOMC meeting, ever since then, every single week, the dollar has made higher lows. This looks bullish to me. This looks like it's trying to break out to the upside. So that's my one concern with looking for USD Swissy shorts. Because if the dollar does break out, then that's going to cause our USD Swissy position to get stopped out. Whereas technically, this looks like a short. Right? I mean, this is what we look for. This is an A+ short setup. You're finding resistance at the October open. That is a monthly open. That's an objective price. This will always be October 2025's opening price. Check. You're trading under and closing under the daily 21 exponential. Check. All the moving averages are structured bearish. 200's above the 100, 100 above the... Check. Like... This thing checks across the board for a short setup for our strategies of trend following strategies, right? So if I were a computer and I put these rules into the system and said, I want you to trade only when you get these parameters, we have all those parameters. Check, check, check. All right, we're going to have to sit in the short. But my bias, because of what the dollar's doing on a weekly basis, is the dollar looks like it wants to go up for some reason. So if that's going to happen, then I would rather be positioned long on the USD Swissy because of the yield curve inversion. Look how there's so much of a yield curve spread here on the US versus the Swiss franc. The Swiss is still on the near term negative interest rates. We're positive 4%. Now, we are in a rate cutting cycle. So every time we get a new FOMC meeting, this is probably going to be lowered by 25 basis points at a minimum, at least one more time this year at the minimum. So this spread is going to shrink a little bit, but the spread is still there, right? So that means you will get paid to sit in longs on this by the carry trade. So I don't quite understand why other investors are don't like that. The only thing that I can come up with is because people have a very bearish dollar bias right now. Because the macro is very bearish for the dollar right now. Trump even wants a weaker dollar. So the macro just doesn't fit dollar long positioning right now. And at least for USD Swissy, you do have a short setup here. A class this would be for the trend following strategy that we implement. This is an A+ setup. Does it mean that you're going to make money on this trade? No. Just because it's an A+ setup does not mean you will make 1 cent if you take this trade. But technically speaking, we're testing the 30-minute 100. That's a day trade setup. The daily chart looks absolutely beautiful for a short setup. And the October rejection, the last 3 days, looks really good. We made a lower low today. Yesterday we made a higher high and not a lower low. So yesterday, the trade would not have been as good. But that close is good. And then today made a lower low and is rejecting. A lower high and is rejecting and made a lower low. So it looks like today's the day to put this short on. Just make sure you put a stop loss. This would be a 1% loss given this account's equity. So if you put the short on, which you can right now, just make sure you set the trade up to where you only lose 1% of your account's equity and give yourself a 25 pip stop loss. No point in putting a take profit on here, because if the trend continues, you could end up getting this thing down here at 78,725. All right. So I'll leave this trade on to track. I put the trade on before I switched to the paper trading account. On my main account, I put the trade on. Then I went to this account and put it on so we can track it. I don't use paper money on the crypto. I use real money on the crypto, but I don't, because my position sizing is much larger on my main Forex account than it is in crypto. And I don't want people to get the wrong idea, because it doesn't matter what kind of money I'm trading with. That doesn't matter. What matters is the positioning, the reason for the trade. That's what matters. That's what I want you to learn. Now, this is still very choppy. Okay. It's doing the same thing that the dollar is. You're in a multi-month range. But damn, it looks good for a breakdown. This isn't a descending wedge, so technical pattern traders will be looking for the opposite trade here. They're going to be looking for the bullish breakout potential. Let's mark July's low. Because if we reject July's low, we can get out of this. So that's where we traded down to here and bounced strongly. So if if you look at from the bounce that we put in at July's low, this is a higher low, right? So the bulls could be trying to put on positions here to break this thing out of this descending wedge. Okay, so this is how I'll phrase this statement. I can make the case for both sides of the trade here. For the trend trade, which we're not in a trend, the market conditions right now do not support the trend trade. All right? Because you're in a multi-month range. So the trend trade might not be the best trade to take here. Maybe the better trade to take is to wait for the breakout above the October open and get long. So at any point, if this thing starts closing candles back above the October open, then maybe we can look at it then and say, well, maybe we should be bullish here and not bearish because the trend trade didn't work. But either way, it'll be next week, more than likely, before that happens. So until that happens, I'm okay to sit in a short. Beautiful. So we got that. Let's go look at Tesla. Hopefully you're still here. Tesla looks okay. Yeah, Tesla had a big day yesterday. Had earnings. Missed top line, but beat on the bottom line. It doesn't matter what they did, right? What matters is what happened yesterday. Very big, strong day all day yesterday. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so right now you're very choppy. You've been in this range for several weeks now. So you're not in a multi-month range, you're in a multi-week range on Tesla. Extended pretty far away from your weekly 21. But it was trading around the weekly 21 down here and it held. So this is a breakout. This looks like a bull flag to me. You're operating on a big breakout and a multi-week range. So as long as weekly support is holding, 413.62 is weekly support. Sorry, 413.49 on Tesla is weekly support. As long as that price is holding, I have a bullish bias on Tesla. Now, with that being said, would I buy this 30-minute 100 EMA retest? Probably not, because it's happening at the top of that weekly multi-week range. But you can. I'm not. But you can if you want to. You could simply say, okay, fine. It's testing it now. It looks like it wants to go lower, but it might go up from here. So you could buy Tesla right now and put your stop under that 30-minute swing low. You could set up a trade like that easily. it would look like this. You could set that up. Maybe a 2-to-1 risk to reward. And if you're wrong, you only lose 1% of the account's equity. Yeah, I mean, there's an intraday technical setup there, but intraday technical setups aren't as good as daily and weekly and monthly setups. But that doesn't matter. You're rejecting October's open. That isn't great. Let's dial this in as weekly support here. Now let's go back in and see how much. Yeah, this looks like a fresh rejection. I would not buy this today. You're buying it into resistance. The monthly open is resistance. It's proven to be resistance. You broke under it today. You retested it today and rejected today. So I wouldn't buy it today. Forget about that moving average structure. I would not buy it. It's too close to resistance. But yeah, I mean, you got fresh breakout on S&Ps right now. I don't know. This is one of those, just, I guess, wait and see what it does. If you make a lower 30-minute close, I would leave intraday longs alone. Wait for a retest and hold of weekly support. Yeah, that's about all I got. It had a really good day yesterday. So in theory, it should hold the midpoint at the minimum today. Midpoint would be right in here. Yesterday's midpoint. But if that were to happen, yeah, I would leave it alone today. Myself. I don't love buying into resistance. Yesterday was a fresh breakout above that resistance, and you're not seeing upside continuation today. That's a little bit iffy. Where's that daily 21? Is it getting closer? Oh, it's real close. Oof. It looks like it's trying to break out. I would let 428 be my guide. That's yesterday. The day before yesterday is a daily support. That's what you're testing right now. You see how you're testing that intraday right now. And then here's your lower daily support. So if you lose this level, there's a good chance you're coming to here intraday. So if Tesla fails to hold support here today, you're probably going to get a shot at it down here. So, yeah, I mean, I guess you could watch it. If it holds support for a long time, like an hour and a half, then maybe you could be a buyer here because maybe it's getting ready to break out. I hate breakout trading myself, but yeah, that's all I got on Tesla. It looks like it's trying to break out of a big break, like, but at the same time, it's really right into resistance. That makes that trade a bit difficult. Awesome. Still there. Good. Appreciate it. Thanks for sticking around, man. Yeah, I did the Solana yearly open thing. We honestly had an altcoin bear market from January 2025, it looks like. What are you looking at to confirm the altcoin bear market? That would be my first question. From January. Well, here, instead of looking at dominance, let's look at the total chart. This excludes Bitcoin. All right, this is your total altcoin market cap excluding the price of Bitcoin. So here's your 2025 range. So if we only look at the year 2025 and what it's done, I would say, yeah, the first half of the year, you did see an altcoin bear market. Yes, you did. But we saw a bear market in Bitcoin and the S&P 500 as well. It was April that set the yearly lows on risk and in Bitcoin and some alts. April set the year low. So, yeah, I mean, you did have a bear market in alt season, or alts did have a bear market. I agree. I don't love that alts are trading under last month's low. But it doesn't mean they're done. I just don't like that. I wish they were trading above that. If you were trading above that, I could make the point to be a buyer. But that news that Trump destroyed any hopes of what, like, he destroyed Trump. If you're listening to me, you need to keep your mouth shut, bro. As far as when it comes to the markets, you're literally the worst thing to happen to traders. I mean, come on. These things were situated and looking good, getting ready to break out again. And then you come out and get in a tis fight with China, and you destroyed the hopes of a bull market continuing. Now, some people are going to look at that as a good thing, right? Now you can be a buyer again. My only problem with that is it's under an area that I would want to be a buyer. I don't want to be a buyer when it's under here because it's threatening a lower push. So you can see how important it is today. Like, this week is important for Bitcoin and crypto as a whole. We need to regain last month's low, and we need to see it push higher beyond that point. So as long as you're trading under it, you're threatening a deeper push lower, and that sucks. But I mean, looking at the monthly 21, it looks okay. I usually don't look at the monthly chart and the averages myself because I'm more of a near-term scalper than I am a long-term holder. But if I'm a long-term holder and I've been buying the 21 average for the last several years, I'm not worried about this chart, guys. Okay? Let's get something straight. Like, if I'm a long-term holder, I've been holding for multiple years, and I've been building a position at the average, the 21. for years, this chart doesn't threaten me at all. It looks good still. But most people that are involved with the trading space are not doing that. Most people are betting everything they got on red or green. That's what most people are doing. But this still looks good, man. Same thing can be said for Bitcoin and that. Like, if I've been accumulating the 21 exponential on a monthly chart, not even threatened, not even concerned. In fact, a retest of 87K, I buy in again. Like, you can see how long-term trading is just so much easier. So much easier. Just buy and hold. Buy and hold. Let's put on a faster average here and a simple. Let's change this simple to like a 15. Well, let's turn it on. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the yearly open would be a good place to be a buy if it pulls back. If you're accumulating the average. So if you lose the average, then maybe don't be a buyer. If you close a monthly under the 15 simple, maybe buying ain't the right time to be a buyer. Maybe wait for this to break back out and accumulate the average, and then start to be a buyer. But long-term traders are looking good. This chart looks great long-term. Near-term, it's difficult. That's all I can say about it. Very choppy, very sideways. Watch out for 3 drives top. Yeah. Trading tight ranges. I love the chop personally, but still listening. Yeah, I do too. I mean, I don't mind the chop. I'm holding a short on Bonk. It's not really trending down, but yeah. Trading these tight ranges gives you an opportunity to make a little bit of money here and there. Like, Bitcoin has bottomed. So it made a fresh day low and could not go lower. You got people accumulating that weekly average, that VWAP. I don't know that they're going to be right today or not, but we still haven't got, we got 40 minutes on that 4-hour closure. This thing could still close as a bullish engulfing. It doesn't look like it will in 40 minutes. Let's see. It could, though. So this candle opened at 8 a.m. So there's your open. This candle breaks out and closes up here. You've got a bullish engulfing 4-hour candle. And you're going to get one more 30-minute. You're going to get another one before that 4-hour closes. So this one could close right here. The next one could open and do that. If it does, then that 4-hour closes as a bullish engulfing. The bears are still going to be looking to put on new positions here. your intraday VWAP is starting to trend down now. So your bears are still going to be interested in putting on new shorts here. I just think they're wrong. It's Friday. If I was going to be bearish on the end at the end of the week, I would want to see this thing way under the VWAP. The fact that we spent a couple days here accumulating it doesn't look good for bears. But I took my shot on it today, so I'm done with it. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I'm still holding the long from July, or July's low. So I hope it continues higher, because I love the hopium strategy. It is what it is. Huh. The DXY right now is testing the open of the day. So they sold the news. Will they sell it again here? We'll see. We'll see. Comment was on total you were looking at when you read. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. The 3-drive topping formation, it's already in on Bitcoin. The total chart was probably there as well, huh? Yeah. Yeah, you got a 3-drive on this as well. When you make fresh all-time highs and they're insignificant, that's insignificant. And then another bout of insignificant highs, that's a 3-drive topping formation. It's the technical, it's there. But one could say the top is in on this. Based on that signal, based on the reaction after. It all looks good to continue to sell this. If this was a trading asset, it isn't. But, I mean, that's the only thing. Like, that's what Ethereum did, right? Ethereum traded way under the 21-week, then under it again last week, but closed above it. See? These are weekly wicks. 1, 2, 3, 4 weekly wicks into here. It's hard. You'd be hard pressed to tell me this thing's going down. The buyers are struggling to pick it up off the floor, but the sellers haven't proved anything yet. It wouldn't take an inflation spike would probably cause these things to roll over, but I don't think we're going to get an inflation spike. We just got inflation news today, and it came in good. So this will probably get bought up. Risk markets are looking good. I honestly think that Bitcoin's probably, who knows, maybe today, maybe it's done making lows today. Maybe the lows are in on the day. It needs to close above here Sunday. We still got plenty of time. VX futures look like they're going to go lower. Still, I mean, they're trying to break down. Any moment you could get a big, if you get a big spike, then Bitcoin will probably roll over. But if this continues to go lower, like it looks like it's going to break down, if it does, then Bitcoin's daily low is probably in. This is the first time we retested the daily 21 exponentials since Tuesday, right? So it makes sense that the sellers showed up here. But will they show up lower? That's the question. Will they continue to push it lower? So that's not a great reaction at the 21, but it's an expected reaction. Like we could expect that, but then when you turn around and look at risk markets, I mean, they're having a hell of a day. This is why I'm concerned with Bitcoin shorts right now. Because of this disconnect. Like risk markets are back on highs. You only lost 3% when we had this big gigantic VIX spike. So we're back up at all-time highs here. So why isn't Bitcoin, even though VIX has come off so much, why hasn't Bitcoin gone back up yet? You know what I mean? Like Bitcoin is disconnected from the risk markets. It's weird, but it is. And that's concerning. It's almost like Bitcoin is waiting for good news. It's almost what it feels like to me. It feels like the sellers are keeping it a little bit down, but not down enough to really matter. Like, it's just very choppy. That's all you can say about it. I think next week will be funner or easier. You get one good down week and then a choppy inside week, and then the next week you see continuation. I don't care if it's down or up. I just want it to trend. I like it when it trends better than when it's choppy. I can still make money in choppy markets, but when you nail a weekly low or a weekly high and it trends, it's a glorious thing. It's glorious. So next week, the buying opportunity might be this week's open. Right? Even if it closes in here today, maybe Monday or Tuesday next week, we start to go lower. If it finds support down here, maybe that's a buy. It's not going to look like a buy. If you close under the weekly 21, it's going to look like you should be a seller. Technically speaking. But the sellers have not been able to really do nothing. Once it gets down in here, they ease up. You need to see the sellers down here as well. If it's just the macro don't support that. I think that's all it is. If the macro supported it even a little bit, Bitcoin would already be getting killed. Who knows? It's not on us to know. We're just supposed to mitigate our risk when we're wrong. That's all we can do as traders. That's all we can do, ever. But things look okay. We'll see if they can stay okay. But the macro doesn't look bad. And the chart doesn't look bad. It just doesn't look great. It's not breaking out to fresh all-time highs, and that is what's wrong. Everybody wants fresh all-time highs. Wasn't there news, government, and crypto? I seen a tweet from Trump saying that you should be a buyer A lot of good things are coming, this and that, but technically speaking, you can be a buyer as long as you're above the July low. But like I said, I can also make the technical reason to be a seller. As long as you're closing weeklies under the 21, you can also be a seller. Only time is going to determine who the winners are. That's all. You could position yourself for the long on spot and then hedge that long off with short on futures. And then whatever happens, you'll be situated good. You'll be there to catch the long with spot, and you'll be okay if it goes down. You're not going to lose money because your futures short position are going to basically keep your money tight. You could do something like that since everything is a little bit unknown right now, but yeah, it looks okay. The markets look okay and things still look good for the long term. We'll check. Let's just go look at the bonds real quick. And if nobody else has any other questions, we'll wrap this up. But the bonds are going in the right direction. Yields are trending down here. This is what we want to see. All right, we want to see yields trend lower. As long as yields are going lower, that means it's easier to borrow money. And when it's easier to borrow money, the economy goes along great. And the closer you get to the near term, the better the charts look. The 5-year yield looks better than the 10-year. The 2-year looks better than the 5-year. You know what I mean? It looks good. It's going the way it's supposed to be going. For bull markets to continue. As long as your yields are doing that, everything looks good. The 3-month is really, which the 3-month it'll look identical to the Fed fund rate. 1-month yields is the Fed fund rate. Pretty much. I mean, if I put this on a line chart, yeah, what's going on? Get log. There we go. Yeah. It's the same. So yeah, it's the conditions support easy borrow and easy money buying opportunities. We'll see if it continues or not. The Fed is going to continue to cut rates as long as inflation continues to be, consistent. No big massive inflation spikes, no big massive unemployment number spikes. As long as that stuff stays good, the market should be good. Why Bitcoin isn't experiencing fresh highs? Nobody wants to buy it up there. It's the only thing you can say. $100,000 Bitcoin seems a bit expensive right now. But the sellers they're not pushing it lower. That's a good thing. All right, we'll wrap it up. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you guys have a great weekend. Make sure you guys trade safe, trade smart, and as always, happy trading, everybody.